Hi everybody, this is Boog-S Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the McFarlane Toys Spawn 10th Anniversary figure. So before we take a look at Spawn, let's take a look at the only accessory that he comes with, his base. So first up, Spawn comes with this amazingly sculpted base. It's supposed to be a stone cross, and it looks really awesome. The gargoyles at the bottom are sculpted very nicely. It has some excellent texturing and paint detail to it. I was surprised at the paint detail on this. It is amazing. This base really blew me away. McFarlane Toys did an awesome job on it. This won't all fit in frame, so I'll turn it sideways so you can see all of the sculpted details and all that awesome paint. That looks really good. On the back, you can see that texturing, and the texturing that McFarlane Toys did to this is insane. You can really tell on the back of this. That texturing is awesome. Now this does have two pegs at the top for Spawn to perch onto, but since this figure is pretty old at this point and the ankles are known for being very fragile, I do not display him on the top. Rather, I stand him on the pegs on the bottom here, where his ankles are just flat and not in a weird position that could break easily. And there Spawn is on his base, looking very cool. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the head sculpt. McFarlane Toys did a phenomenal job on this head sculpt. It looks really good. The eyes are done in a very nice bright green color. His head is just cast in black, but it has some really nice blue paint over top of it that really brings out that slight texturing. That looks incredible. The cape is also textured phenomenally. I was surprised at the amount of texturing that's on the cape. It's cast in like a really dark red color, and that bright red is painted over top of it. And that looks really good. I'm still just blown away by all the texturing on this cape. You can see that this spot here could use just a little more paint because it kind of stops. I'm not sure if it's like that on all of them, but it looks good for the most part. Like this looks like it's shaded in between the wrinkles, but it's really just the wrinkles they're painted. That looks really good. My only complaint is you can see this gap in the cape right here, and it looks like there's a piece that's missing. I really wish McFarlane Toys would have added a piece right here. That's really the only complaint I have with this figure, is there's a really big wide spot right here that I think another piece of the fabric should have been in. But other than that, this cape looks phenomenal. One thing that really surprised me is this cape is actually articulated. You can actually move the little pieces, like the little ribbon right here. You can move them up and down. They are a little bit stiff, and I'm a little hesitant to move them just because of this being an older figure that's fragile. But I think that's really awesome that they actually added that. Like this piece right here, you can swivel it up like that. So yeah, I was surprised that this has an articulated cape. The very first Spawn had an articulated cape as well, and so did the Kickstarter. But I actually like the articulation on this better. Both of those were kind of just hinges on the cape that kind of opened like wings. But his cape is actually articulated. I've never actually seen a cape articulated like this before. So yeah, that is really incredible to me. That's one thing I didn't know when I purchased this figure, is that he actually had an articulated cape. That is so cool. All the muscles are sculpted really nicely. In between those arches, you get some more of that blue paint, looking really cool. You can see a thin line of black underneath the arch where it leads into the red coloring. That looks really good. You have his spiked armband right there with some really cool texturing. Almost looks like it has a black wash over top of it. They even painted the elbow joints right here where the white line is. And that is really awesome. Down here you get the cool Spawn skull right there with these real chains. And these real chains are very long. So yeah, you definitely have enough chains to wrap around him if you're doing pictures and stuff. That is really awesome. That is one thing I wish current McFarlane Toys would do, is add real chains to the figures. I think real chains just look so much better than rubber or plastic chains. So yeah, that looks incredible. The place where the blue paint really shines is here on the legs, because it has some nice blue paint over top of it, bringing out all of those details. You can see a little wrinkle right there, and that blue paint brings that out very nicely. That blue paint looks incredible. And then down here you get the spiked leg pieces, and these actually do have some black paint over top of them. So yeah, that looks really good. And then you get some more blue paint on his toes. So now let's go ahead and go over the articulation on this figure. So I am going to be really careful with this because, as I've mentioned numerous times in this review, this is still a very fragile figure. So he has a head that can look up all the way. can look down just a little bit. It can move side to side. His cape has multiple points of articulation, like at the little tassels right here. And on the inside of the cape, where you see these little button type pieces is where the articulation is at. He has butterfly joints that can move back and forth. He does just have swivel shoulders since he has butterfly joints like that that can just move up and down. He has a swivel at the bicep, single jointed elbow that can bend in just about all the way. He has a swivel at the forearm that can move side to side, a swivel at the wrist that can move up and down. He has a diaphragm joint right here that can move side to side, can move back all the way. He can crunch forward all the way, can also move side to side here. He also has a side to side movement down here at the waist, but it doesn't want to move, so I am not going to force it. He has hips that if you want to push the articulation, you can definitely get a complete split. But like I said, I'm not going to force that. He can kick forward that far. He can kick back just a little bit. He has a swivel at the thigh, double jointed knee that can move back all the way, swivel at the shin that can move side to side, swivel at the ankle that can move down all the way, up all the way, and toe articulation that can move up just a little bit. So now, let's do some size comparisons. So first up, here he is next to the Spawn that started all, the Series 1 Spawn figure. Here he is next to the Collector's Club Spawn figure that reuses this body mold. This one's actually meant to be perched on a gargoyle, so that's why he can't stand up straight. His cape goes straight down and is not meant for him to stand up straight. Here he is next to the Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn figure. I think even the Spawn with the Throne figure actually uses some parts from this Spawn figure. Here he is next to Clown. And finally, here he is next to Shadowhawk from the same line. I'm just now realizing how tiny Shadowhawk is compared to Spawn. He should definitely be a little bit taller. It doesn't help that he's also in that super wide stance though. So overall, I would highly recommend picking this figure up if you can find him. He is both pricey and pretty hard to get nowadays, but if you get the chance to get him, definitely pick him up because he is hands down my favorite Spawn figure. McFarlane Toys really went above and beyond with the sculpt, paint, and articulation on this Spawn figure. This was back in the days when most Spawn figures were more articulated statues, so it's very surprising that McFarlane did an articulated figure like this. And it works really well. His articulation is very nice for a Spawn figure from this time. So yes, definitely pick this up if you can. So that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.